They came without warning. By the time you saw the sails, it was already over. Cities burned, kings paid, armies broke. The Vikings didn't lose battles. They ended them. And over time, they started believing something dangerous, that no city on earth could stop them. So when they heard about the richest city in the world, Constantinople, they didn't see a threat. They saw an easy payday. In 860 AD, a fleet of 200 Rewrote ships, Vikings from the riverlands of what's now Ukraine and Russia, headed straight for the Byzantine capital. They'd come for the legend, the city the Norse called Miklagarth, the great city. They'd heard about the Golden Palace, the Hagia Sophia, the endless treasure. They didn't want to raid it, they wanted to sack it. But as their ships crept closer, something felt off. No panic, no resistance, no fear, just silence. The kind of silence that means, this time, they weren't the hunters. Before we jump into today's story, hit subscribe and turn on notifications. Follow me as we uncover the hidden battles, secrets, and legends of history that textbooks never tell you. Constantinople didn't look like a trap. It looked like a prize. Gold poured through its markets, ships sailed in and out without a care in the world. From a distance it seemed exposed. Just like every other wealthy city the Vikings had already taken. No endless marshes to slow them down, no hidden rivers to throw them off, just open water, and a city stuffed with riches. Perfect. The Vikings had done this 100 times before. Hit fast, break the defenses, take what you want, get out before anyone knows what hit them. In Constantinople, it didn't even react. No fleets racing out to meet them. No desperate soldiers scrambling along the shores. No signal fires lighting up the sky. Just walls. Tall, distant, silent walls. To the Vikings, that silence screamed weakness. A city too slow to react, too arrogant to prepare, too wealthy to understand war. They'd seen it again and again. Riches made cities soft. So they pushed closer, closer to the harbor, closer to the heart of the city, closer to what they were sure would be another victory. But here's what they didn't realize. Constantinople wasn't ignoring them. It was letting them come. Every move their ships made, watched. Every decision, already anticipated. Because this city didn't fight like the others. It didn't rush into battle. It waited. And the closer the Vikings got, the deeper they sailed into something they couldn't see. Not a battlefield, a design. And by the time they figured it out, turning back was no longer on the table. In every raid the Vikings had ever fought, the pattern was always the same. Panic came first. Messengers sprinting, bells clanging, armies scrambling into position, too fast, too sloppy. Fear spread like wildfire before the first blow was even struck. And the Vikings thrived on that chaos. But Constantinople did nothing. No soldiers rushing around. No desperate last-minute defense. No fear. From the decks of their ships, the Vikings could only see distance. And those massive walls, standing motionless against the horizon. Watching. Because this city had seen it all before. Not just raids, not just armies, empires. In 673 AD, the Arabs laid siege to Constantinople, and the Byzantines unleashed a weapon the world had never seen. In 717 AD, another Arab army of 120,000 men surrounded the city and starved to death outside its walls. The Persians had tried, the Bulgars had tried. For centuries, Constantinople had been tested by enemies far larger and far stronger than anything the Vikings had ever faced. And every single time, it survived, not by reacting, but by understanding. Inside those walls, there was no confusion, no shouting, no rushing around, only preparation. Orders had been given long before the Vikings ever showed up. Positions already assigned, defenses already set. Because for Constantinople, this wasn't a surprise attack. It was a familiar problem, and problems like this had solutions. The Vikings couldn't see any of it. To them, the silence still looked like weakness. The stillness still felt like hesitation. So they did what they always did. They pushed forward, closer to the harbor, closer to the walls, closer to a city that refused to play by their rules. And in that moment, without even realizing it, the Vikings made their first real mistake. They assumed this battle would start when they were ready. But in Constantinople, the battle had already begun. It happened without warning. One moment, the harbor lay wide open, calm, inviting, exactly as the Vikings expected. The next, it started to vanish. Across the mouth of the water, something massive began to rise. Not waves, not ships, a chain, thick, heavy, unbreakable, stretching from one side of the harbor to the other, sealing the Golden Horn shut. For a split second, nobody moved. Then it hit them. The path forward, gone. The escape route, gone. The Vikings had sailed into a space that could now be sealed at will. Panic didn't come from the city, it came from the ships. Oars slammed into the water, orders clashed and tangled. Some tried to slow down, others pushed forward, still not understanding what they were seeing. But the chain kept rising, higher, tighter. A barrier not meant to fight them, but to control them. This wasn't a defense thrown together in fear. It was precise, timed, deliberate. The kind of move you make when you already know exactly where your enemy is going to be. And suddenly everything changed. The Vikings weren't approaching a city anymore. They were inside it. Inside a space they didn't understand. Inside a trap they couldn't see the edges of. Behind them, the open sea felt farther away than it should have. Ahead of them, the silent walls felt closer. And for the first time, the Vikings weren't choosing the battlefield. They were being positioned on it. The first flame didn't make any sense. It didn't fall from the sky like an arrow. It didn't spread like oil or wood. It moved. Across the surface of the water, alive, unnatural, unstoppable. This was Greek fire, invented in 672 AD by a Syrian refugee named Callinicus of Heliopolis. It was a weapon so secret that even today historians can't perfectly replicate it. The Byzantines guarded its formula so fiercely that it remains a lost invention, one of the most closely held military secrets in history. It was based on petroleum mixed with resins, similar in composition to modern napalm, and it could burn even on water. When a man tried to dive into the sea to escape, the fire followed him underwater, burning him alive in the cold waves. For a moment, the Vikings hesitated. Fire belonged on land. Fire could be fought. Fire could be escaped. But this followed them. It clung to the waves, crawled up the sides of their ships, wrapped itself around wood and rope like the sea itself had turned against them. Then it struck. One ship ignited without warning. Flames surged upward, swallowing the deck before anyone could react. Men jumped into the water, only to find the fire waiting for them there too. It didn't go out. Not with water, not with distance, not with anything they knew. Panic spread faster than the flames. Orders shattered. Formations collapsed. The same warriors who had stood fearless in countless raids now faced something they couldn't understand, something they couldn't fight. From the walls of Constantinople, there was still no chaos, only control. This wasn't desperation. This was deployment. The city wasn't defending itself anymore. It was showing its power. And in that moment, the truth hit harder than the fire itself. The Vikings hadn't just entered a battle they couldn't win. They had entered a world where their strength meant nothing, where speed didn't matter, where experience failed, where the rules had already been rewritten, and the worst part, they still didn't know how far it would go. By now, it should have felt like chaos. Ships burning, men screaming, formations shattered. That's how every battle the Vikings had ever seen ended. In confusion, but not here. Because beneath the fire, beneath the walls, beneath the silence, there was something else. A system. Every move the Vikings made had already been answered. They advanced. The harbor closed. They regrouped. Fire scattered them. They tried to escape. Currents, distance, and pressure held them in place. Nothing they did created an opening. Because this city didn't rely on strength alone, it relied on design. Inside Constantinople, nothing was rushed, nothing was improvised. Signals moved faster than ships. Commands were anticipated before they were even needed. Defenses didn't react, they activated. This wasn't a battlefield where victory went to the strongest. It was a structure built to break patterns. And the Vikings were a pattern. Fast strikes, sudden violence, shock and fear. It had worked everywhere else. Because everywhere else, people fought them head on. But Constantinople never did. It didn't chase them. It didn't meet them in open combat. It didn't give them the kind of fight they knew how to win. Instead, it absorbed the impact, redirected it, contained it, destroyed it piece by piece. And somewhere in the middle of the smoke and fire, the Vikings started to understand. This city hadn't just survived powerful enemies, it had studied them, adapted to them, solved them, and now it was solving the Vikings too. Defeat didn't come all at once, it came in pieces. A ship lost here, a retreat there, a realization that spread slowly, then all at once. This city would not fall. For the Vikings, that was unfamiliar, almost unthinkable. Every raid they'd ever known ended with something taken: gold, land, power. But here, there was nothing to take, only something to understand. Because Constantinople hadn't just resisted them, it had redefined them. In the aftermath, something unexpected started to happen. The same warriors who had arrived as enemies began to return, not with fire, not with fleets, but with purpose. They had seen the walls, felt the system, witnessed a kind of power they had never encountered before. And instead of trying to break it again, they chose to stand inside it. One by one, then in groups, Norse warriors entered the service of the empire, not as raiders, but as protectors. Bound not by fear, but by something far more dangerous to an empire's enemies: loyalty. They became the Varangian Guard. In 988 AD, Emperor Basil II formally established this elite unit, recruiting 6,000 Varangians as his personal bodyguards. They were known for their distinctive uniforms, blue tunics with bright red cloaks, and carried long-handled battle axes trimmed with gold. The sight of these axemen on a battlefield meant the emperor was near. These northern warriors were so effective that a medieval Swedish law from Västergötland declared no one could inherit while staying in Greece, the Scandinavian term for the Byzantine Empire, just to stop the flood of young men seeking fortune in the Guard. Not because they were conquered, but because they recognized something worth serving. A city that couldn't be rushed, a system that couldn't be broken, a power that didn't collapse under pressure. And in a twist nobody could have predicted, the men who once came to destroy Constantinople would now be trusted to defend it, standing at its gates, guarding its rulers, becoming part of the very force that had stopped them, not defeated, transformed. Long after the flames died down, the story remained. Across Europe, the Vikings were still feared, still fast, still dangerous. But now there was a difference. One place where the pattern had broken. Constantinople, not conquered, not weakened, not even shaken. Because what the Vikings faced there wasn't just strength, it was something far more dangerous, a system that understood them. Most cities fought the Vikings head-on and lost. Constantinople didn't. It delayed, it measured, it controlled, and when the moment came, it didn't just stop the attack, it ended the illusion that speed always wins, that fear always spreads, that every wall eventually falls. For the Vikings, that realization didn't fade with the battle. It stayed. In the stories they carried home, in the choices they made afterward, in the path that led some of them back, not as raiders, but as guardians. Because Constantinople did something no other city had ever done. It didn't just survive the Vikings, it changed them. And that's why this story matters. Not because the Vikings were weak, but because, for the first time, they met something stronger than force. They met design, a city that didn't react to history. It controlled it. Thanks for watching. Click subscribe and dive into this playlist next. More untold stories of empires, warriors, and history-changing battles are just a click away.